Hi everyone, this is Burgundy. Welcome to this episode of Yoga Talks. This is our second week. This is part 2 of our discussion about death. Tonight we'll listen to Gigi tell her story about her near-death experience that happened about 6 years ago when she was 29. I will just let us get right to the discussion. Enjoy. So it's interesting how the concept of death even came up for me to choose it as a topic in Yoga Talks. Several different people, students had actually come up to me wanting to talk about it. And then, I guess, oh my gosh, it was actually last year in November when I was going through my Thai massage certification. One of the gals that I was in class with, she actually leads what's called the Death Cafe here in Columbus, and I think I don't know if it moves locations or not, but it's every month or every couple of months, and it's just a place where people can get together and talk about death in whatever form you want it to be. And if you get up and you read a poem, or you tell your story, or you just talk, that's what it is. But it's so death is always all around us, and it affects people differently, and there are all different types of death. And as we sort of touched on in last week's discussion, it could even be the death of a relationship, the movement of, from one time of life to the next. It was interesting actually this morning. So when everybody's in Shavasana and I'm flipping through my little book of mindfulness quotes and things like that, one of the quotes that I ran across that I'd seen before was even talking about how the birth of a child is the death of a baby, which I'm not exactly sure that I like the verbiage, the way that that's worded, but thinking of death not necessarily as the end of a life, but the end of a stage of something. Personally, I've gone through many deaths in the past couple of years. 2016 seemed to be like the death of all sorts of people. This is a month, and I decided that I needed to wait. This was brought up to me later last year, and I was like, we need to wait until the summer month to really talk about death. I need this to be outside of the winter months. So we're finally around to it. And I think one of the aspects that I really want to sort of stick to is that it's not always negative. It doesn't always have to be something that burdens you and that you feel like you're drowning in grief and all of that. So I think, talking about, so we've got Gigi here to tell us her story. And your story is it's not an out-of-body experience, right? This was a near-death experience.
Yes.
Specifically, yes. The difference. Okay. And so I find it fascinating that talking to people who, of course, I don't know you, we just met, but it's interesting finding people who have had experiences with death, their own personal touch with death, and how that might change your perspective, not on just life, but maybe your thoughts about all sorts of things. So what I'm interested in, Gigi, is, first of all, before you even tell us your specific story, did you have a different mindset, not necessarily about life, because I know it changed your life, but your thoughts about what is death? What is there, what does death mean? Maybe even like a spiritual belief or something like that. Was there a difference between then and now?
Yes, there was, and a lot of it had to do with how I was raised. My family is Russian Orthodox Catholic on my mother's side, and I was predominantly raised by my mother and my grandmother. Okay. So I had that story that we all hear as children, heaven and clouds and all that. There's something greater on the other side, and having a family that, you know, technically I'm second generation, but my mother was very young when she came over. A lot of times these cultures, it really is not a good existence, and they even, you know, in America, not so much anymore, but you know, 100 years ago, it was a nice thought to have that though life is very hard in the here and now, there's something beautiful waiting for us, and it gets very romanticized, and it's something that's taught as a way to kind of cope with the difficulties in life. Well, in a lot of other countries, that's something that's still very much prevalent. So it was even more ingrained in me to appreciate the idea of that, and to be a good person in the here and now, so that you have that. On the other side, in the Jewish religion, which is on my father's side, there is not that concept of, you know, heaven and hell. It's what's here. You know, you appreciate what you have now because this is the gift, your life now. So it was kind of a dichotomy that was always present in my mind. And then, as often as with dichotomies, it's more comfortable not to think about it.
Yeah.
So I wasn't something that it was, you know, part of my daily existence. Then my grandmother passed away, and it was something that I mentally struggled with for a long time, because I was there. Like, my grandmother died of lung cancer. It was a slow process, and she was on a lot of pain medicine. My grandfather had passed away. They were very, very close, and she talked to him all the time when, you know, she was going to the point where sometimes she would get out of bed. I actually had to sleep in bed with her, so she wouldn't get out because she would stumble and fall, and she would, you know, dance with him, like in the room, and it was like, it was beautiful, and it was something more beyond it, that it wasn't just the pain medicine, hallucination. There was something that was, you know, leading her to a better place, even in her mind. I don't know if I'm not making sense, but there was definitely a power there that I felt. And just witnessing it, and I'm not talking about seeing things or ghosts or hearing voices or anything like that, but it made me, I felt the presence of you know, something beyond.
Yeah.
Now, when I had my near-death experience, and I had more than one, because the nature of my heart defect that caused the sudden cardiac arrest is such that, well, for one thing, medically speaking, when you have it happen once, it can happen again. Like, your body almost remembers how to stop in that way. But my heart, when I have an arrhythmia, it deals with it by, it's just too much, and it just, like, I'm done. And also, because I was much older when I had the cardiac arrest for what the heart defect usually calls for, it usually happens in children. So my left ventricle was very overworked, trying to make up for the deficit in that arrhythmia my whole life until I turned 29 when I had it. So it definitely, it changed how I see life, but it also made me unafraid, I guess. Like, and I'm not talking about like anything that I saw that was you know, like what you see in movies, or the idea of that. It was more a feeling that, I don't know, I say, our senses as we understand them are very physical to us. Like, in another place, they're not, you don't see with your eyes the way we have vision, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it was more just a feeling of peace, but it was also a feeling like it wasn't, like there was more to what I wanted to live. Like, that was the pervasive thought. And I don't want to go off on tangents without explaining all that happened. I mean, confusing, but yes, it definitely, I guess it made me unafraid. Now, that doesn't mean I wouldn't die, or it doesn't mean that.
That's different.
Yeah, because there's definitely connections I have now, like with my son. I want all the time in the world with him, but I also know that it's not a scary, dark place I'm going to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
So then specifically what happened?
So I was about to turn 30. I was 2 weeks away from my 30th birthday, and I was training for a half marathon. I was living in Clintonville, here in Columbus, and it was a very hot day, and I started getting really, really winded, and I passed out. Now I came to, and I was out like running in a residential neighborhood. This had happened throughout my 20s a couple times, and they always attributed to low blood sugar, or I had diabetes in my family, just stuff like that. They didn't really look deeper into cardiac stuff because those diagnostic tests cost the hospital more. And so I got home, I was talking to my roommate, and she said that I made a sound, and I guess it's what you would call like a death rattle, or what's considered that, and I just like dropped mid-sentence.
So you were running with her at the time?
No, I was actually alone, and I passed, I knew I passed out because I woke up. It's very disoriented. I walked home, and then I was talking to her about the experience, and in mid-sentence it happened again. And even when I came to, she said, I'm calling 911, and I was like, no, this happens. You know what I mean? This has happened before. This is my blood sugar.
Just pass out.
Yeah, just give me something to drink. I'll be good. Don't worry about it. I didn't want all that muss and fuss. Because it happened actually a few years prior when I was teaching preschool, like right before the kids showed up. And I woke up, there's ambulances, it's like a day of getting fluids, and I just didn't want to deal with it. I just wanted to like chill out
and
sit in the air conditioning. Yeah.
Art stuff, jeez.
I wasn't even thinking then that I had anything wrong with my heart. Like, they had never even looked at it. And so we go down to the basement, we're sitting in the cool air, and I was talking to my mom on the phone actually, and I sat up, and I just started getting like really dizzy, and I'm like, Mom, something, and then she said she heard Halsey, my roommate, screaming, and they asked me to calling 911, so they got me to the hospital. Initially they looked for, first of all, they put me through toxicology, so I was like 2 hours of toxicology, and then I started, which everything was clear there, and then they were like, well, you're dehydrated, it's the blood sugar, and I was like, I know, just give me fluids. And they said, well, we want to, then I walked to the bathroom, and I had grand mal seizure. So they're like, you might have epilepsy. You said this has happened before, like maybe it's undiagnosed. So they sent me up to a step-up unit. When the nurse was walking me to my bed from the wheelchair, I had another grand mal seizure. You stiffen up during those, and I fell forward like a plank, like all the way, and I cracked my forehead. So they sent me down to CT. In CT, when I sat up after the x-ray was done, that's when my heart stopped. So that was the event, the sudden cardiac arrest.
And had you had a cardiac arrest before? You passed out before?
It had never been diagnosed as that.
Okay.
Now, most likely not. Most likely it was a seizure. It was, though I'm not quite sure, because I don't know if it's something you can come back from all by yourself without medical intervention.
Sure.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But that was definitely the point where my heart was like, enough.
Right.
I can't do it anymore.
Okay.
Sitting up basically caused the gravity, all the blood, to pull away from my heart, and it didn't have that juice to keep going. And so, but at the same time, like when I would have these periods where like I thought there was panic attacks when I was growing up. Something about it, like I would want to lay on the flat ground, like not even on a bed. I wanted like a hard surface on my belly. I wanted my cheek on the ground. I wanted all that. And now I know, especially with yoga, it was like I was self-grounding,
right,
without even realizing it, and it calmed me down, and it at least let me, like, I guess physically deal with the arrhythmia, but also it took a while to come out of that. I'd be flattened out there for hours sometimes.
Wow.
So when I came to, so the experience of when I was out for 4 minutes and 27 seconds, which is a long time.
Yeah.
And they shocked me several times. To regress a little bit, when they took me from the step 2 unit to the CT, which was down in the ER, I had a nurse, his name was Marcus, and he was in his 40s. He was this huge guy, like a football linebacker. And as he was wheeling me down, he was talking to me because I was anxious, my head hurt, I had this big softball lump on my forehead, and it was, taking me out of my head. And he had a daughter, and he was telling me how, I was his daughter's age, and I reminded him of her, and just talking about that. And he was in the room during the CT. He told me, because I was scared of the CT. In my head, it was like an MRI where they put you in that tube stuff.
Yeah.
But I was still nervous because I was scared about what was happening. I didn't understand. And this whole part of it was new. It wasn't something I dealt with before. It hadn't gotten this bad. And I was really getting scared. Something in me was definitely fearful. And he stayed like in the room with me. He was in there. He was actually helping me sit up when I had a sudden cardiac arrest. He was the one who caught my head so I didn't smack on the back when I flattened out. And he was the one who performed the CPR and kept going. He did not give up on me.
That's awesome.
And yeah, he's an angel. Like,
he saved your life.
He did.
Yes.
Absolutely, 1000%.
Yeah.
To the doctors, they called it code blue, and the room was filled with doctors. My mom said when she passed by, but he was the one who, I guess, he knew I had life in me yet, and they didn't know me from Adam. They had this happen all day long, but he held on to that, to my light and pulled me back into this world. And the first sounds I heard again were his voice saying, "Come on, come on, come on," and I can still hear it like in my head, and it's something I think about too when I'm having like a moment. I hear that voice in my head saying, "Come on, like you can do it," kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was very disorienting when I came to, and there was immediately I tried to flip over on my belly, and I heard him saying, "She's gonna try to go on her belly," because I was telling him on the way down, this is what I do when I'm not feeling good, because I kind of wanted to roll over in the stretcher that they were bringing me down in. And he was saying, like, just lay back. It's better if you just lay back. I had hands all over my body trying to hold me down as I was trying to flip myself over. Like, they were all, it was like a little too much. Yeah. And then I oriented after a few minutes, and my blurry vision kind of cleared, and I saw his face smiling at me, and it kind of gave me something positive to focus on, because the doctors were all yelling, and a couple of them were yelling at him to stand back, because he was a nurse, he wasn't a doctor, and they like to be, and then I felt the pain in my chest, because several of my ribs were broken, but that's the stage of CPR when you do it right. And thank goodness I had someone that strong to give it to me, because, who knows if I didn't have that pressure pumping my heart. I heard them saying things about check your pupils and brain damage and stuff like that. And I didn't even know at that point what fully had gone on. And then he looked at me and he's like, "Young lady, your heart stopped." And it took me a long time for that to grasp that concept. And then I looked around, and they were all like very serious faced, and I said something like, "You guys are acting like someone died," or something like that. And then they started laughing, kind of like children. But I was scared, and I'm that way. I try to bring levity, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But I was terrified. I had one pervasive thought in my head, and that was, I wanted to live. I couldn't sit up. My heart wasn't strong enough. They kept telling me that too. Don't try to sit up. And then I said, "Where's my mom?" She had come down to the hospital from where she lives, about an hour north, and she was in the step 2 unit, and I thought she'd still be up there. But when she heard Code Blue called over the hospital around intercom, her being a nurse, she ran to the desk and she's like, "Is that my daughter?" And they were like, "Yes." And they took her through the back alleys of the hospital corridors and brought her into the family room. So she was waiting in a room, basically, awaiting the worst possible news ever. She said when she walked by the CT room, they had this big glass window, so the room was filled with doctors, and she couldn't see what was going on, but usually that's not a good sign. And I just wanted, A, I wanted to live, and B, I wanted my mom, she's the love of my life, my mom and my son. I didn't want her to wait another second to know I was okay. I wanted her to see me. And they brought me up to the ICU. When I finally saw her face was just white. But, she looked in my eyes, and even though she was scared to death, she was the one like reassuring me. And so two things I realized, like the power of like real love is what holds us, what tethers us to this world, because I could have easily, at that point, my body wanted to go again, and I didn't even know, like, I didn't know what was going to happen. They didn't tell me like how I was going to survive. They told me that they didn't know why I had the cardiac arrest, the testing, all that stuff. That was in the future, but also.
So you didn't know you had arrhythmia like that?
Yeah, they hadn't explained anything to me. That wasn't until the next morning, because this was in the wee hours of the morning when I finally had the cardiac arrest. I was in the hospital forever for that finally happened. But I didn't have a whole lot of medical knowledge about like, well, okay, do I need a heart transplant? Like, what happens now? I know what I know from Grey's Anatomy, and that second season didn't end well for Denny, okay? So, can someone please give me some info? Because I'm scared to death, and they seemed like, they didn't want to tell me too much, they didn't get my hopes up. And then on the third day, the cardiologist came in and said, okay, here's what you have. It's a heart defect, and it causes sudden death. It's called a sudden death defect. And I was like,
That's a shitty defect.
what? Yeah, like y'all can't do a better name. Like maybe you could just hold back on that. You ever heard of editing? Just tell me I have a heart defect. That's cool.
Right.
That's enough.
Yeah.
Let me Google that.
Exactly. That's another thing too. I was in the cardiac ICU. They didn't let me have my cell phone. They took all that fun stuff away. I had nothing but like basic cable and. Though the food is good. The food's good at Riverside. So they finally came in and they said, well, we have convened a committee to see if you'd be a good candidate for a pacemaker or defibrillator. And I said, well, what? I mean, I know I've heard of the term pacemaker. Can you explain this? And he said, well, you need a battery to keep your heart, because my heart rate was like below 30, and I couldn't sit up because I would bottom out again. And so we need to bring your heart rate up, and also if your heart stops again, it's going to shock you from the inside. It's basically like everywhere you go, you'll have your own
Defib.
yeah. And I was like, all right, that's cool. Like, when do I get this? Just sign me up. Like, I'm ready to get out of here. And I said, well, we need to make sure that you're a good candidate. You're strong enough for it, and it's an expensive prospect and all that fun stuff. So it was 24 hours of waiting for basically an answer to see if I was gonna, there was no other alternative.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's the option?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
This instant death defect, or
yeah, exactly.
Terrible options.
I feel like some doctors enjoy the mystique, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it was also a teaching hospital too, so I had like, every day I had
All
these
these
groups coming.
residents,
Yeah. And not only that, but like when you're a patient, you have to release a certain amount, not even dignity. You have to like have your dignity, but okay, you're gonna open up my shirt 3 times a day and put, lift up my
Yeah, you're like
body parts.
Everything's out
Yeah,
there.
and there's 12 people. Oh no, we're doctors. Like, okay, yeah, I'm just, but I'm also a human being. I'm not just a patient. So it also taught me a lot about patient rights as far as like maintaining dignity and honor and that thing. And they were great. They never made me feel uncomfortable as far as like anything they did. It was just the nature of, my heart is in this area, my upper chest area, and that's just something I had to. So at a certain point, I just had to kind of detach mentally during those things, and that's a whole other thing. But yeah, so they finally came in, and it was the morning of the actual surgery, and they said that we are going to give you this pacemaker defibrillator. We determined you're a good candidate, and I was like, hallelujah, thank you for giving me this chance. And they said you got to take good care of yourself. I'm like, done. That's also easier said than done too, because the daily living, it's every day I have to have that intention to put my health first, and that's not always easy to do. I for one thing, it can be isolating socially because I don't have the same options as everyone else as far as like when this was in my my late 20s, early 30s, and I wasn't going out.
So you can't go dancing.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that. And also, it can be visible, certain things I wear, and people my age don't have that. They don't have any frame of reference for. I didn't, I didn't know anyone with a pacemaker, and I certainly didn't know that they were visible. And I would assume that somebody who had one was extremely fragile, and in a lot of ways I am. As far as it's close to the surface of my skin, there's wires that are attached that are. They need to be in good working order at times, and it is very close to the surface of my skin. And I had to learn a lot about how to take care of myself. And whereas they're good at teaching their students, they're not so good at teaching their patients. They just give you, like, here's what you do. But I'm someone who likes to know the why of things, like why and where and how, and explain to me how this works, like explain to me electric signals, and then the actual experience of defibrillating internally is something entirely different because it's very painful.
So you have had it zap you then?
Oh yeah, it's that because my left ventricle was overworked. The first couple years, I was a lot more. I had to be very not sedentary, but I had sedentary, low impact everything. Like I could go for walks. No running, and if I was walking and my heart started beating fast, I really had to. It wasn't. There's the idea of like pushing through the pain, like that doesn't exist for me. I can't. I have to listen to that no matter what. Like even if it embarrasses me to stop or ask for help, like I have to do that because the alternative is, bad news bears.
Right.
And I didn't even know how to explain that to people too because that's also isolating. No one wants to hang out with someone who's has that risk factor, It's just easier. So the living with it was wholly different. But I knew that I wanted to live, and that I was so grateful that I live in the age of medical technology where there's devices like this that can give me quality of life that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And even when I deteriorate to the point, because it's inevitable at some point, I'm going to have to get a left ventricular assisted device, which is LVAD for short. Mm-hmm. It's like kind of like an outside pacemaker where you got to have this battery pack everywhere you go. And that's in the future. And that's something that I'll worry about 20 years down the road. That'll be a gift to get to that point, And at that point, I'll be grateful for that too. And I'm just happy that, I don't care if I gotta wear RoboCop,
Well, in 20 years from now, who knows what they're gonna do?
Exactly.
It could be like a sticker on your body by that point. Who knows?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It really is amazing that we have these things, but even more so, the fact that now I have anxiety sometimes, and I have questions like, well, how come I survive? Like that's a lot of pressure to honor that gift.
Yeah.
And I'm the most average normal person in the world. Like I'm not like of extreme intelligence. I don't know all these languages. I don't have a job where I'm saving orphans and burning bus.
Right.
I just want to do something that makes people feel good about themselves and good about being alive in this world, because it's a beautiful place to live in. Even on the worst days, even when you don't have anything, because I've had periods in my life where I was a teacher, and public schools have it's a lot to take on the insurance and liability of somebody who has these physical deficits, and it looks really scary on paper, no matter how I've acclimated or.
Is there another word for sudden death defect? Like, is there truly? Because putting that on a thing is.
Oh, I know, right?
STD.
She could die. Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, I just have STDs. That's okay. Yeah. 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 That's.
I'm sorry. That was a long ramble. I don't know if that answered questions or put.
Yeah. No. I mean, no. That was
amazing. It's an amazing story.
That's a fascinating story. And so, how long ago was all that?
It was December of 2012, so it was
okay.
This past June 12th. They call it your rebirth day, and like the prolonged year. So I had my 6th birthday, and
So you're only 6.
exactly. Oh, I know, right? It's awesome. In real life, I'm 36, but even that is like when I say I'm 30, like I'm at the age where women start to be not putting their birthday year down on stuff. Yeah, and I'm just like I'm I'm proud of it. Like how I'm 36, I'm proud of that.
Right.
It's not even that I want to go back to my 20s. I can't wait to hit 40. I mean, every year I'm alive is a year I wasn't supposed to have. So as far as I'm concerned, like that alone itself is something to be proud of, which makes my life easy because just being alive, I'm super proud of.
Right.
I was someone who was very hard on myself growing up. I danced ballet. They just build that into the curriculum of it. Just you're never good enough, and especially for me, who's not like a natural athlete, like in any way, shape, or form. And like I can eat one meal and gain like 10 pounds. And I just never. And I've lived in places like California where I did not fit that mold. You know what I mean? I wasn't even coming close. I look ridiculous with like. I remember for a long time I always wanted like beautiful blonde hair and like you know what I mean. I can't. I'm living my authentic self now, and let me accept that. You know what I mean, and see the beauty in my differences, and not to say that I don't have bad days, because I do. I had a relationship then recently that was unpleasant and made me feel bad about myself, and that's never fun because that's another thing. This is kind of a caveat to relationship building because I've actually had someone say to me like I'm not a safe bet. I'm like, well, yeah, but like actually, you have to turn this thing off for me to die. So,
I mean, but I mean, the truth is that none of us are guaranteed anything. I mean, I could get hit by a car on my way home, and I live a block away. Like nothing's guaranteed. Nobody's a safe bet. So, F that comment. Anyway, so
thank you very
much. Yeah. So I'm interested in, so you have a very rich ethnic background.
Yes.
Did your family, what was your family's response to all of this? Obviously they wanted you to be safe and they were glad you're alive, but did you get any sort of like response that really pulled from the ethnic roots?
Well, that's interesting. It was very, this was the hardest part to deal with. Death makes people uncomfortable, and sick people make people uncomfortable. And I had like the world's most amazing mom, like all day long, she's amazing. And if my grandmother had been alive, she'd been right there with me too. But everyone else just kind of, and my brother, though he's in the Army, and he's deployed all the time because he's a ranger, so I just don't physically see him. We talk when we can, and he's always been a big supporter. But everyone else just kind of like fell away. Like and not even, and I have like an extended family. I have family even in Columbus that they just don't return my calls, and I don't know why that is. Like I never quite got it because in my mind I'd always try to like pull around someone in that moment, but. I'm also a little different in that of all my extended family, of all my cousins, I have like 20 cousins. I was the only one who had the gift of being raised by my grandma too. So there was always like a little bit of jealousy regarding that, but like I have just a different way of doing things, I think, because I am super old-fashioned. Not old-fashioned, like closed-minded, but just...
You're an old soul.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a great compliment, actually. I'm very sensitive, and I think I fed into the isolation a little bit in that it hurt. It hurts to be not shunned, because it wasn't like they were like, I don't want to be around you. They just weren't comfortable, just the way some people just aren't comfortable in a hospital. They just, and they'll come visit, they'll like put in the time for a minute, and then they just kind of, they don't want to think about that. But for me, my grandmother died of lung cancer, and I was there during that period of time in my early 20s. My mom had breast cancer. During those periods of time, like, everybody just kind of stayed away. And my mother's cancer was something at one point she was, going in remission, but it was over. Whereas for me, it's always. I've had people, like, it makes them uncomfortable to see the actual unit itself, which it isn't like super visible or anything like that, but like skeeves them out, And I get that. I totally get that, like, all day long. I've had people refer to it as like a deformity, and I'm like, deformity?
Right.
I mean, if anything, it's like a really cool body mod, right?
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
Yeah. Where is it? Can I see it?
Yeah, it's right here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm gonna give it a little wiggle. But right here is where the lead wires go in. You can see the scar where the implant.
Yeah.
So the wires go into and you can feel it too if you want to. The wires snake into that right there. Those are the wires in my superior vena cava, and they snake down and they go inside the inside of my heart, which is like super cool, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really think of that with that open heart surgery and all that, because a lot of people too assume that I had open heart surgery.
Yeah, notice there's no scar here. It's just off in your armpit.
Yeah.
Where they just like made a little pocket.
Exactly. Yes, it's exactly what it was. It's a little, isn't it? Super cool, and it's not even that, and it's light, and it's made of titanium. Now sometimes it'll set off.
Airport alarms?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I have a little card. So if I go to, like, the other day I went to Myers and it set off the thing.
Security went out? Really?
Yeah. No, it doesn't always do that. They must have just, like, I don't know, put new batteries in or something. But yeah, at the airport I get the cool, like, the body scanner thing.
Yes.
Lots of people choose that nowadays to avoid the radiation or whatever.
So that's it. You don't have to replace the batteries at all?
I do.
You do.
The batteries last. Now for me it's about 6 years.
Okay.
Because I'm dependent. Now I've been independent of it before, where I was under 50% my pacemaker working, but as I've gotten older, like in the past, it seems like I hit 36 and like that milestone kind of hit my body. I got sick a couple times with chest infections, and that's another thing too. Like anything with the mouth, any kind of like toothache, or anything even little to me when you eat antibiotics for, it goes straight down to the heart like that. If you have a heart problem. So, and with me, they don't mess around. Like they'll stick me in the hospital and give me IV antibiotics, even if I'm just in there for like 36 hours. They'll do that real quick.
Wow.
Which is awesome. Like Riverside they're amazing. They really have. It's where I had my child. They had like a whole team around me for that, and they even gave me the option of vaginal birth. Now I wasn't able to give birth that way, and I hope it's not TMI because I don't have any.
No such thing as TMI around here. Yeah, either you're gonna cross the line or I am. So.
Who's gonna be first?
Right. Yeah.
I've used words and I'm talking about like body parts, and like I can see someone's like face flush, and I'm like, oh, I don't mean like that's just the terms. I grew up, my mom's a nurse, so we always had the correct.
Yeah.
Like, that baby's not in her belly; it's in her uterus.
Right.
What's a uterus, Mom?
Right.
Well, let me tell you, 3-year-old Gigi.
That's how you know. Like,
right?
I remember growing up, I didn't know what a period was because one of my friends told me that she showed me on a Barbie and she put a red dot between Barbie's legs. And so, like, I was completely ready at 12 to have a red dot grow on there. And I'm like, this is not what I expected. Misrepresented. Anyway, carry on.
Oh, Barbies. They teach us so much about our bodies.
Yes. Ridiculous thing. So then, because of this experience, how has that driven your choice into becoming a yoga teacher and yoga just in general?
Well, when I was growing up, I was in California in my teens, and that's when like the whole
that's where all the yoga
Madonna
is.
trendy.
Sure.
Yeah, that's when that really hit.
Yeah.
But I was in the gym of, I was on the swim team and the locker room, and you have to pay for a locker, like a lock. Mm-hmm. So I would throw my stuff up on this like top ledge over the lockers.
That's clever. That never occurred to me.
One time I did that, and I was reaching up there and I felt a book and I pulled it down. It was Richard Hittleman's 28-Day Guide Yoga, Hatha Yoga.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is cool. It was like from the 70s, like with the, leotard.
Yeah, the tight pants and everything.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
But it was like step by step, like 1 day at a time program. And at the end of the 28 days, you had like basically flows that, not flows because it was Hatha basic, 3 different, that you would alternate over the course of 3 days, like A, B, and C, you know what I mean? So you could keep it up. And in the book is the first concept of, you're perfect just the way you, like, as you are, you're perfect being, like, no matter what you weigh, what you look like, how flexible you are. That's, like, forget about all that. You're just trying to breathe. That's it. That's where it starts. And I learned about Ujjayi breathing, and it's something that carried me through, my body image issues as a teenage girl, my body changing and all that stuff. It's something that always stuck with me. I did a little bit of yoga in the studio, but then we moved to Ohio, and this was like nothing here back then. It was the early 2000s. Not even that. It was like 99 when I moved to Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's pretty much just yoga on high.
Yeah.
Little and balanced yoga, and that was pretty much it. Like there were 2 yoga studios, and that's about it.
And I didn't know there were those too. I was in Guyan, Ohio. It's a small.
Oh yeah, there was no
small town.
No,
Yeah. They didn't even have the classes at the YMCA, and it was considered like woo-woo type stuff.
Yes.
Even in college, I went to OU. They only had a couple yoga classes at the recreational center, and those were taught by other college students. They weren't certified.
Right.
Which they did a good job or whatever, but it wasn't. All the 8 limbs weren't represented. That whole philosophy, that was a whole different class you had to sign up for.
Right.
For credit hours or whatever. But I was always interested in that because as a dancer, I was very hard on myself. I didn't take care of my body. It was all about being a size and not like a whole human form. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I ended up like not taking care of myself. I had brittle bones. I broke my ankle, and that ended all that.
Were you anorexic?
Yeah, and also, and this is something bulimia. And I just, those things are, and bulimia is something that is.
Oh, that's terribly hard on your heart, by the way.
Yes, exactly. I don't know how I survived it because this is a congenital defect.
Sure. Yeah.
And I was lucky in that I knew right away, like, this is no bueno. And I told my mom, I have a terrible propensity for just TMI about the bad stuff, and I knew I needed my mom's help. They had a great counseling at OU, and I was super lucky to get the person that I got as well, because not every counselor is the same. Mm-hmm. And but even that is something like it's always nowadays. I mean, there's so much. I don't want to say there's pressure on women. There's pressure on everybody. Yeah. And the thing about yoga is it always brought me back to myself, and I always felt good doing it. And I had home practice forever, and but still not knowing a whole lot about it, because you can do DVD and it becomes rote, and what I mean. You're not mindful at all. You're just
doing it.
Yeah. And you're not thinking about breathing. And a lot of DVDs, they'll say like inhale, exhale at the beginning, and then they're not. And Shavasana, that's something that was not something that I always did at the end. I'd stop it and just continue on with whatever. But feel good about doing my
check.
Bit of it was a checklist. It wasn't something that I even looked forward to until I started going to do studios, because it was the community that brought me back to myself and like made me feel good, because I haven't always had a lot of friends. I've always kind of been like a shy person, and I mean, I had a really big heart, but I'm really shy. Yeah. And I don't know, and I feel like I'm a goofy, awkward person, and I don't know how to approach, groups that have been solidified for way longer than I have ever, been into it.
You just be yourself, and they'll make a little space for you. And if they don't, then that's not the right space to be, and it's their loss.
I appreciate that. Very much so. Very much so. But when I started doing just little things, little breathing things, and there were ways to get out of my anxiety. Because after I defibrillated the first time, I was really scared to have it happen again, and I was like, well, I could be anywhere. I could be driving. I could be this. I could be that. I could be walking down the street or in a grocery store. Anything by myself. No one around me would know what was going on. They would just see someone like yell, maybe pass out or fall down or.
So even with the defibrillating thing, you could still pass out.
Yes.
From the pain or because of what's happening with your heart?
Well, there's two ways you defibrillate. If you have I have a threshold of 180, so if my heart rate hits 180, it's automatic.
Okay.
And then there's, even though I have a pacer that brings my heart rate up to 60, it can basically like, it can just be random that my heart just gets out of rhythm. And then if it's out of rhythm, it like gets reset by defibrillation. So,
I mean, that's the definition of arrhythmia. I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
Out of
Yeah.
Anything out of rhythm or anything, my heart rate gets too high. So, and I don't know, and also too, those, I should be having a safe heart rate monitor, but a lot of those, just having the electrical signal can disrupt your heart rate rhythm too.
Interesting.
So yeah, so I stuff like that scares me. I opt for like the nothing option, to be on the safe side, but I'm always like, sometimes I'll be like in class and I'll just check real quick. I'll do like a quick check if we're getting up and down during the day for different things. And sometimes like we can hold poses longer. Like that one class we had at the end of the inclusivity speech where we were up in Chandra, it was hot and it was the end of the day, the end of the weekend, and she was having us hold poses and it was almost like a military style moment for a second. And I was just like,
almost, it was.
Yeah, it was like
Drill sergeant.
Yes, it was very drill sergeant-esque, and I could feel my heart rate right, and I had to, check real quick and make sure I was in the range or whatever. But the main thing that yoga was like, it brought me back to it would just ground me. It would ground me the same way that it did when I would lay on my belly when I was a kid or in my 20s, and I could feel that cool ground on my cheek, and I could focus on that, and just somehow it was just like instantly feel better. To this day, if I'm not feeling good, if I'm sick for any reason, like stomach ache, headache, whatever, there's something about like I don't want to lay in a bed. I want to lay on the ground. Like,
So you still do that?
Yeah, it's a comforting I don't know. My mom always said, "Oh well, it's because you won't fall." Because I have fallen. I've fallen on the stairs. I've fallen all kind of stuff. I got a hard head, thank goodness. But
but there's also the idea that certain points on your body help to stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system, which helps you to relax.
Yes.
So I tell a lot of my students about just putting like a couple of fingers right here in the center of your forehead. That activates your parasympathetic nervous system, and then various parts along your body also directly impact activating that. So it's not you. So your body was just naturally doing it.
That is that's the stuff I love about this whole practice. Like, you're learning how to take care of your physical body, and that relates back to your brain.
Yeah.
Like how when your feet touch the ground, like it stimulates a part of, they deepen your corpus callosum for survival, and that in itself is ground. Like, that blows my mind. That is so cool to me.
Yeah. And that is science. It sounds woo-hoo, but that's science.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just a fact, but I think it takes a lot of people it's hard for a lot of people to actually accept those things or to listen to it. Why can't these simple things be true? Why can't you accept simple things? And it's unfortunate that more people can't just open up and feel these things. They're just detached from their body. They don't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking. People aren't in connection with their body. That's the basic thing, and they're looking for some kind of outside, of their body, whether that's medicine or whatever treatment,
a pill
something,
or surgery.
Yeah, something that's going to we really as a society have gotten totally away from listening to our bodies, and being in touch with our bodies. But what that has to do with that, I don't know, whatever.
Well,
We got outside.
but I mean, also, you know, one aspect of, like, if you read the 8 limbs of yoga, Patanjali's 8 limbs of yoga, I mean, one of these things that the yogis, the ancient yogis taught, not even the ancient, like the yogis that only like just passed away, like within the past 20 years, 30, 40 years, they know when they're going to die, because they're so in tune with themselves and all of these things that they know. And I don't mean like, oh my God, I'm dying right now. They know like ahead of time, like that is how I will die. They see that, they're connected to it. And also because, you know, the idea not only of being connected to yourself, but also recognizing that the sort of physics concept of things is that all time happens at the exact same time. All moments, past, present, and future, happen at the exact same time. And so with that notion, there is a possibility to know your own death.
See, I don't know if I wanted that moment.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, but then would knowing it, and this is one of these sort of like conundrums, is if you were to know that, is the knowing of it going to keep it true, or is it going to change the path?
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to happen that way regardless of whether or not you avoid taking that street because that's where the bus is going to hit you, or any way you change it, any way you think you're going to change it, it's still going to happen the same exact way.
That's why you have that picture of yourself when if you start to fade, you know, right? Just from
Back to the Future. Exactly, right. Keep a Polaroid of yourself in your pocket. Right.
Hey, I gotta change. We're gonna go down this road now.
Right. Because that's how that works. Well, guys, it's been an hour. That was a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for inviting me here, and I've faked some million times. I can't think, you know, when you asked me, it really meant so much for you to think of me and to bring me in, and I feel really honored to be in this space. Like it has this real positive energy, just radiating from it, and meeting you guys.
Beautiful place.
I can feel it. It's the best thing. I was actually listening to talks about happiness on the way over, and I can't think of a better name for this place than what you've chosen. So thank you for bringing me in here.
Thank you. Well, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed that, please click like or subscribe. Also, go to our patreon.com/yoga happiness page and consider becoming a supporter. Those of you who do check us out on Patreon, I offer more content on the Patreon page. These will always be free, but it's wonderful to have supporters to help encourage me to do more of these things. I really would like to, very honestly, I would love to be able to do this full time. So I'm shooting for it. Aim high, right? Well, thank you again. I do want to give a big shout out to all of my Patreon supporters. I think we're getting up to 4. That's exciting. Chris, Nancy, Lauren, and Athne, thank you so much for your support. I truly, truly appreciate it. Well, have a wonderful week, guys. I'll talk to you next time.